The intern is very clever and very capable, but they come to you without any knowledge of what you do. Would I trust anybody's server? I don't know where that information is going to end up.
If you are delegating intent, you're assuming that intent is really clear, that you really know what you want.
In a large business, you've got limited time with that customer, so you can't go deep into their problems. But an agent in the background can.
This is After the Magic, a limited series podcast in which Gam and Sergio Maldonado will discuss the impact of Agentic AI on various industries. Gam and Sergio have grown up professionally in a world in which Forrester Research, or Gartner, through its famous Magic Quadrant, determined, as it by divine designation, the most impactful or advanced technology vendors. It occurred to them that the explosion of startups and competing technologies called for a very different approach to telling the signal from the noise. And it had to begin with two basic principles: unsponsored realism and extreme curiosity. At the same time, every analysis was to be mapped to human values and individual agency. And it is with that mission that they are now humbly bidding for a few minutes of your time. In this first episode, Gam and Sergio will introduce the concept of the Model Context Protocol, which they believe is an essential first step to understanding AI agents. They will also lay the groundwork for the conversations that will follow with some of the most disruptive trailblazers in the space. Please bear with us as we polish this over time, but we do hope that you find it valuable and, in a way, unique.
How are you, Gam?
Well, it's coming up to 9 o'clock, but tomorrow, this weekend's a fiesta for us. No, it's not, is it?
Oh, no, it's probably a bank holiday at school or something.
Yeah, no, it's a school holiday. So, yeah, it feels like a holiday because it's a school holiday tomorrow.
Well, thanks for accommodating. Yes, because it's a much easier time for me. So, look, I'm eager to get started with this topic. We started with probably the most sophisticated of all things, the next stage in agentic AI, which is when agents start dealing with agents. And if you go to unveil what this really means and what this thing that you've been describing as delegating intent, I like that notion, that concept a lot. So to get started, how would you describe the idea, the standard of the Model Context Protocol, MCP, which is showing up all over the place? What's the Model Context Protocol, please?
So I've often said that having an agent is like having a stupid intern. No, actually, no, not stupid. The intern is very clever and very capable, but they come to you without any knowledge of what you do. And so if you get an intern, what you do is you have them shadow somebody for a couple of days, and then you give them some things to read, and you say, here's the process that you follow. That's essentially MCP. I'm going to give you a set of instructions. Now, what's interesting about it is it's a protocol, and it's a way of writing those instructions such that any agent can pick it up. So let's say I'm a global organization and I'm bringing a team of interns, a team of 1,000 interns to come and work across all divisions in all countries. Is there a standard way of bringing all of those interns up to speed? Obviously with different processes, different background knowledge, different customer types and local nuances.
Very good.
But is there a standard way of producing that document? And so that's essentially what MCP is. It's just a way of describing what they need to do.
What's this idea of the briefing layer, if you want to explain that?
So, okay. Now let's use the same intern example. One of the things that actually no, let's make this a Gen AI version of this. So I've got a team of 100 interns coming into the company. I've got this global knowledge base. I've got all these systems running SAP. I've got this knowledge base of kind of all the corporate presentations and sales informations and sales data. I am not going to let an intern loose on all of that. What I would probably do is build a custom GPT and feed it those documents, and then it would be able to answer the intern's questions. So now the intern is the agent, and the MCP server knows how to access all of the documents. So we've got this MCP server that understands how to get into various databases, various transactional systems. It can log in with a particular ID, and it can retrieve information based on the set of protocols. And on the other side, you've got an MCP client, which is what that intern interacts with and asks questions. So I've got a client and a server. The server knows how to get the information. The client actually has a conversational interface with me. So now I've got that intern enough knowledge that they can go about carrying their tasks. And as the agent does things, it will start to write back to the database, and that's what the server will do too.
Okay, so starting with B2B, is this already happening? Are companies already deploying on top of the protocol? Does it exist?
The protocols exist, and there are a lot of organizations building out MCP servers, and there's MCP server marketplaces. It's proliferate. From a privacy or a risk perspective, this is quite interesting now, because let's just say I want to go after OpenTable. I want to create an agentic experience for OpenTable. So OpenTable has a bunch of APIs. So you and I could write an MCP server that would access those OpenTable APIs, and we can create an agent that will book tables for you. Now, if I was a company wanting to deploy something, would I trust anybody's server? I don't know where that information is going to end up, just as they're passing it through. If OpenTable brought out the MCP client and server, I might be more. So there's a lot of risk in it. These things are going to proliferate, and then they're going to shake out, because there's poor quality ones, and then there's outright malicious ones, in addition to the genuine ones.
Yeah, because they're your agents. They carry your identity. I mean, if you were consumers, it's even more delicate, right? If it's a company contracting on behalf of the company itself, right, as procurements, I guess in the procurement space, there's all of this information that you're passing over, and you've got a new data processor, as we would say in a privacy program, in a way. So you're right, that's a very good one.
There's an extra nuance to this. So if you're an organization and you've locked down ChatGPT, it's like, great, because you don't want anybody to use it. But I don't think you can kind of bury your head in the sand when it comes to Gen AI. It is going to be in your company. People are already sending out things to personal emails using ChatGPT and automating their jobs. So you might as well kind of accept the fact that people are using it, find a safe way and use it. Now, the problem with that is that there is still a problem. If you've actually secured it and said, okay, and you've got some laws that people follow, like don't upload any documents, or this is proprietary, don't upload those. However, what happens is the agent will still be, or the LLM will still be learning from the process. If I can harvest all of the prompts that all of your people put in, and somebody has done this, by the way, they have taken the prompts from one of the popular LLMs and put them onto the dark web. It's a fascinating piece of research. I heard about it today, and I haven't looked it up. Yeah, but a lot of the queries that people ask the ChatGPT are kind of triple X rated. They are very sketchy.
Yeah.
To draw images and like write stuff, it is there's a very below the waterline iceberg of not so nice stuff. However, going back to your company, if I was to harvest all of that, I could probably use an AI to deduce your business processes from what people are doing, when they're doing it, how they ask. I mean, if you're doing market research and I can get a hold of that information, I know what you're asking. So, we need to be very careful. So I'm a big advocate of, these frameworks that go behind the firewall. You run your own framework, you use open source models, you control everything. And that way you keep it inside. So I think, sorry, it was a little tangent for where we were going.
No, it's very good, because the examples that I see, even the ones that you've been using, right? We had an interview on Masters of Privacy with Jamie Smith, talking about agents a few months ago, and talking about how what became, in fact, the Comet browser from Perplexity, but had already been released within the Anthropic world, and then became the operator as well in the OpenAI world. And this idea that a consumer would instruct this agentic browser to put together a trip for them. And the consumer is always very interesting because we can feel the entire process. And so if you are delegating intent, you're assuming that intent is really clear, that you really know what you want. And the whole point of upselling, cross-selling throughout a booking.com, an Airbnb, an airline, is that you do not really know.
I had this debate for a long time when we were talking about, I guess, this notion that I've been harboring for years, the personal RFP. How do I issue an RFP for things that I want? And when I'm not in the market for anything, I just shut the door and I'm not bothered by anything. And so, I've been trying to, so when we were running First Retail, Andreas Weigand was our advisor, and I was kept pushing this on him, and he just said, from all the research we did at Amazon, and Andreas was the chief scientist at Amazon, he just said people don't know what they want. They just do not know, and it's our job to tell them what they want. And so, yes, this is a thing. But I think that now. And by the way, Amazon have now kind of got this saved search going. You can actually search for a product and it'll come back to you when it's available. Or if they get enough searches, they will stock the product that they never had. Very clever for Amazon. But I think that the agent is, as you said, it's a little bit more non-deterministic. It's a little bit more creative. It can figure out from your language whether you are in the market, and the sell will become a lot softer. It'll start to become a much more consultative sell, I feel. So there's still opportunities to cross-sell and upsell, possibly more, because you'll not waste your time trying to cross-sell to people who don't actually want it. So if my request is more vague, hey, I'm going on vacation. I want this area. I've got 3 kids. I'm giving you much more than I would to an Expedia interface now. I've got 3 kids between the ages of 12 and 14. They're twins. And I want somewhere by the beach. I want there to be, good eating locally, and I want a resort. There's much more information to cross-sell there than I'm just looking for a hotel in this zone. So I think this is there.
So you can, widen your parameters. You have these parameters, and then it's all about the contractual, boundaries. Because in the end, you've got an agent that needs to enter into a binding contract. You're gonna be willing to accept charges that can go within a given range, right? Pretty much higher and lower than you thought, simply because you're open to upselling and cross-selling, and you let your agent decide based on opportunities showing up. So in contractual terms, it's super interesting.
If I've got a personal data store that actually has, my loyalty programs hooked into it, it's got, my budget, and it's got, in this case, make a deal, in this case, come back to me with a thing. And I think this, the legal standing of an agent to agent transaction is something still up for grabs. I know that Daza Greenwood is actually still working on those protocols, and so
good. Okay, so let me then bring it back to the corporate world for now and be super practical, right? Assuming that this is going to happen at some point, because the whole idea of personal data stores, I mean, you and I go way back with exploring these things. Right? We've tried everything with personal data stores and PIMS, or personal information management systems, and the project VRM, intent casting. We've explored it all. But in the corporate space, it seems easier, right? Because there's more machine-to-machine processes. Again, there's RFPs that get automated. There are automated systems for you to negotiate with a large contractor, or a large contractor can deal with a large telco operation. They always have something super well structured. And yes, there's the UiPaths of the world that have been applying this robotic process automation, again, in a much more deterministic way.
So I was just thinking about compassion in humans and a desire to help. And I was thinking of like a large industrial procurement problem. Okay, so I'm Rio Tinto and I'm buying, millions, if not billions of things. And, my procurement team is currently human, and it gets on the phone with the supplier and it's able to exert influence. Hey, I'm Rio Tinto, can you switch this for me a little bit? And hey, listen, I know that you've promised Newmont Mining these parts, but they don't need them as badly as we do. I've called up the manager at Newmont. He's okay with me. Can I take some of his parts that you've allocated to him? And humans will do that. Like, that's a three-way human conversation. An RPA won't do it. With MCP, I believe that is what you can start to replicate. You can create softer negotiating parameters.
There's a lot of hype. That's the reality. So on the one hand, we've got this push to cut costs on the back of basically firing people. I'm sure there's going to be other efficiencies that perhaps could even save people much more money. And if you look at agentic AI and agentic intelligence in general, and we cut through all this noise, again, through the papers that will get you the CEO's attention, through all of the trends and all of the futuristic approaches, which we love. But if you cut through all of that noise, what do you think is a short-term opportunity now, something that today works, that could actually get people a little bit farther and make sure they're not missing the train by doing something very specific that works, instead of another chatbot?
You talked about the CIO and the CTO, and I was thinking, does the AI and the agent stuff, because historically AI has lived in strange R&D departments, or the quants, they don't kind of report in properly. Now it's gone mainstream. If you want to cut costs, you put your AI team under the CFO. If you want to grow, you can put them under the head of sales, or the CMO, or the CEO. The CEO will kind of give you a bit more balanced thing. So I believe that right now, until we figure out what we should do, the chief AI officer should report directly into the CEO, and then we can look for more balanced opportunities. But I think the thing is, it's very different to RPA and everything that we've done with our existing ERPs and CRMs. What we're doing now is we have the opportunity to fundamentally change the organization and change the value proposition that we deliver. In fact, we're going to have to. What we have today is not going to be around soon, because agents are going to change the structure of how we work. I mean, I don't think people outside understand how profound this is going to be.
That's a fantastic takeaway.
So I wrote something about 6 months ago on the love KPI. So if you think about agents as cost-cutting devices, so actually, it kind of boils down to what you want to do with it. What's your vision for AI? And I think it's really important to have this vision. Are you bringing in AI to cut costs? Because that's, I mean, particularly in this economy, people are going to want to look to cut costs, and so the vendors are selling you cost cutting and benefits in, can we do the same thing without, like, by cutting costs? Can we grow without adding headcount? What can we do? I want to add another KPI into this. It's a little bit abstract, but it's how much extra customer love can you create? Because customer love equates to loyalty, equates to increased customer LTV. Like all the Peter Fader work on, on customer equity, what you're doing is you're looking for your ultra loyal customers and you're doubling down on them because there's no acquisition cost and they will promote you. And so they're very high value to you as an organization. So how do you retain them? How do you use agents to look after them? And going back to this thing, how do you create, how do you create love or spark joy or whatever phrase you want to use? How do you do that? How do you create more time for your humans to do that? So if you give all your customer service representatives an agent that will go deep into into your CRM and understand the customer in much more detail. So, here's this customer. This could be happening to them. If you look at their spend pattern, something might have happened. Ask about it. This is the stuff that agents are really good at. It takes a human. I mean, what the problem in a customer service organization, whether it's sales or service, in a customer interface situation in a large business, you've got limited time with that customer. So you can't go deep into their problems, but an agent in the background can. And so can you deploy an agent to do that? I mean, that's a good low hanging fruit. It'll allow you growth, or it'll allow you to increase your productivity at your customer touch points.
Gam, super interesting. Looking forward to more episodes.
I think that there's lots of people whom we need to bring into this because there's lots of experts out there right now.
Of course, that's it. We will. All right.
Okay.
After the Magic is produced by Gam Diaz and Sergio Maldonado. It accepts no sponsors and is not affiliated with any organization, but you are welcome to reach out to our hosts if you believe you have a mission worth their time. Find them at afterthemagic.com. Thank you for listening.